them running to catch up with the time for the service, and you wonder whether they're actually going to church. But that's is something that we need to deal with as a country. But Samson, on Saturday, the 15th of January, it will mark exactly 1 year since we went to the polls that returned President Yoweri Museveni to power in what has been billed as one of the most contentious elections he has had to endure since he came to power. So we'll be discussing that on the front line, and you'll see more details in the trigger.
The front line is not going to be discussing.
Frontline. 2022 is here, and in Uganda it has come with a host of things. First was the opening of the economy, which came into force as the clock ticked 1 minute past midnight of 2022. 10 days later, the children that had stayed home for close to 2 years were back to school under the automatic promotion arrangement. Another sector, the entertainment industry, is just waiting for all the children to return to school so they can begin entertaining the country. While this was going on, a group belonging to the ruling NRM that was politically rejected by the population was making serious announcements, which, if adopted, would see reforms for the country. To them, it is time Parliament decided for Ugandans who should be the head of state. The question is, what is the genesis of their idea? In whose favor would this system work? And if adopted, what would this mean for the country? And is Uganda ready for this kind of system? As the country awaits the direction this debate may take, questions arise on what became of the several proposals to the electoral reforms from members of the opposition that have since never seen the light of day. Questions whose answers we can only wait to get moments from now. This is the front line. NBS Frontline.
A very good evening and welcome to this edition of the NBS Frontline. My name is Charles Mwangushampagi. And like I said earlier, today the 13th of January means that we are only 2 days shy of the first anniversary of the last most contentious elections held under extraordinary circumstances as the country was gripped by COVID-19 and associated lockdowns. The election of January 15th is going down in history as one of the most violent, by government's own admission. Between 16th and 18th of November, at least 54 people were killed, gunned down, in protests in Kampala related to those elections. Now, as we enter the second year since the election, of course we haven't started because government hadn't been formed, wasn't formed until May, June. The bigger question is, what does 2022 portend for the political debate in this country, for the political environment in this country? What will happen? I need to remind our viewers that just today, one of the former members of parliament, Arinda Cowboy, was laid to rest after he succumbed to COVID-19 in Bushenyi. He represented Ishaka Bushenyi municipality. And like Samson was trying to joke, should we be discussing the Zambian referee at AFCON, one of the most dramatic games, dramatic refereeings that we have seen, which many people will be comparing with how Ugandan elections are refereed themselves. The other guests and panelists are making their way into the studio, but I have with me the Minister for ICT and National Guidance, Dr. Chris Baryomunsi, with me in the studio. I'll announce the others as they come, but we'll begin the discussion. Well, very welcome, Dr. Baryomunsi.
Thank you very much, Charles, and good evening, viewers and listeners. I am happy to be here. And since last time when you allowed me to greet somebody, I have since received very many requests. Mm-hmm. When you get on the TV also greet me. So all those who have been requesting, I have greeted you. So, but thank you very much.
I keep getting asked that people are watching. So I say, when I wave like this, it means I'm waving for you who's watching.
Yes,
me.
There is an old lady Nibutaleja,
Yes.
the mother of my friend, former classmate, called Dr. Haumba. I think she watches passionately. She asked me, I'm always watching you on NBS, but do you also see me when I am laughing and smiling at you? So she wanted to know how television works, whether as she watches us, we are also seeing her. Yes.
Well, we appreciate...
the show is watched by very many admirers.
Thank you. We appreciate you all, our viewers. The lady from Kanungu, who doesn't speak English but watches this show, the mom to Haumba, and everybody else watches the show. We really appreciate your support and patronage. There are very many other people that I can't mention because of, I'll need to have the whole show discussing those people.
Yes.
Let me also, I'll be introducing shortly the leader of opposition in Parliament, and also member of Parliament for, I have trouble pronouncing.
It's a paragraph, Nyendo Mukungwe.
Nyendo Mukungwe. From the National Unity Platform.
Just one sub-county. One sub-county.
It's not one sub-county. There are several that
we are budged.
The Honorable Matthias Mpoga, you're most welcome to the show.
Thank you, Chairs. And Doctor, my good friend in yellow.
Yes. Why are you running off from red to blue?
Going
back to your roots.
If you are keen, our flag has blue.
Okay.
So white, blue, and red.
Fair enough. Parliament is already scrutinizing budgets of the different ministries and departments as it prepares for the next budget for 2020 to 2023. One of the most contentious things that we have seen lately is, of course, the supplementary budget request for the renovation of State House at 12 billion shillings. But those are matters we'll not be going into. We need to discuss the political year 2022.
Huge building.
Yes. Yeah. I want to start with you, Dr. Chris Bariomunsi.
Yes.
Just recently, we did discuss in this studio the proposal to amend the Constitution, but the many contentious issues that haven't been paid attention to. Ugandans are still waiting to ask. You had an election in which people were killed and shot by members of this country's security forces. 1 year down the road, their relatives, Ugandans in general, are asking, will there be justice? Shall we ever know what happened? What caused it? Why were people killed simply because we're having an election?
Yes, thank you very much. First of all, you've been saying that the last election was different from the others, but I don't think the election of last year was more or less similar to the previous ones. Maybe the difference this time round was that NUP had come on the scene, but even the previous ones where Dr. Besigye was the main contender in the opposition, the trends, the dynamics were more or less the same. Regarding the killings in November, in Christianity, they speak of the original sin. When you want to analyze why those deaths happened, you need to ask what provoked that confrontation between the protesters and the security agents. And for the sake of reminding the viewers, that one of the candidates had deliberately flouted the electoral regulations with respect to observing SOPs and respecting the public health preventive measures against COVID-19, because, like you said, this election was different from the others in the sense that we carried out the campaigns at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. And because that candidate deliberately flouted the COVID-19 prevention regulations, then now he had to be in confrontation with the police and he was arrested. And that sparked violent protests from his supporters. And that's how security came in to quell the protests, which were violent. And that's how, unfortunately, some people died.
Must
Yes.
Ugandans die because we're going into an election? And I'm glad you said that.
No, that history is very important because
I appreciate that you said. I appreciate, Honorable Minister, that you said
Yes.
the last election was not different from others. In 2011, on the day President Museveni was sworn in at Kololo,
yes,
not less than 30 Ugandans were killed because the president was swearing in after an election. In 2021, because we are going into an election, not less than 54 Ugandans are killed in a single, in over a period of 2 days, because we're going into an election. And you can go back to 2021, 2001, 2001, that election where Kizza Besigye first contested. In your home area, in the Chigeza sub-region, in Rukunjiri, a person is killed. 6 others were killed in Chireka. Then, and the bigger question is, why should Ugandans accept what you're saying? That the elections are not different because, and one of the major identifiers of, one of the major similarities is that Ugandans will die because we're trying to go through a democratic process to elect our leaders.
You see, the problem with you is that you just tell half the story, maybe deliberately or just for convenience. Because in areas where there are peaceful campaigns, you will not find those confrontations. How come you don't say in your constituency of Chinchizi East they killed people? Because we hold peaceful campaigns which are respectful at the time of voting, and we as candidates respect each other. But there are people who engage in politics in the campaigns and want to promote violence. And the moment you want to push a violent agenda, then you attract confrontation with security agencies. And that's how, unfortunately, some Ugandans die in the process of those confrontations. Therefore, don't rush to just tell the other side of the story, but tell the whole story, that there are political actors who think they can push their way through a violent arrangement. And definitely when you cause that violence, then you are also responsible for whoever dies, whether the person has been killed by the security forces, but you who is initiating the violence, you are also equally culpable. So like the November confrontations, which is that in death of Ugandans, you should also question how they originated. Now these violent protests, where people putting on yellow were being beaten, where police officers were being hammered with sharp objects by these protesters in the names of supporting their candidate. Did you expect the security agents to fold their hands and watch? Definitely security agencies have a duty to protect citizens. And it's unfortunate, like I've said, that in the confrontation, some people died, and investigations have been carried out, and definitely for those security officers who are found to be in the wrong, they will be disciplined. They will be disciplined.
1 year down the road, there hasn't been disciplining of those security officers.
No, are you sure?
You're the minister, I am not.
Okay, then you ask whether they have been disciplined or
That's
not.
what I'm asking.
You
You
see,
said they will be disciplined.
Yes.
Yes.
You
They
see,
will. That means
you
the
see the
process
point
is
they are
still
making,
going on.
that if they start the disciplining, they don't have to call you for a press conference, that our disciplinary committees within the army, within the police, have started. Because there are internal mechanisms within security agencies how they deal with cases of indiscipline, like in this case. Yes. So whoever is found to be on the wrong side of the law will definitely be brought to book.
The fundamental question I saw you challenging me, and by me I believe you're challenging the media on how we are reporting some of these things.
Yes.
As you know, you're the minister. You are a sector minister.
Yes.
News is not the usual. News is the unusual. So the killing of people is the news. The conducting of a peaceful election is what we should be expecting. So
but a serious journalist like you should say people have been killed because this happened.
Yes,
you don't just say, because don't create an impression as if security came and began shooting at people. You should go further to know what caused this.
When does a country,
so they will tell the whole story.
Under what circumstances, Honorable Minister, does a country do some soul searching? Whether you win or lose,
All the time.
when do you do the
All
soul
the
searching?
time.
Thank you.
All the time, yes.
The Honorable Matthias Impuga, government has, for the last year, squarely put responsibility on your party and your leader. I know you still dispute the elections. You believe you're rigged out of those elections, and you claim that you have evidence to show that your election was stolen from you. But government says, like the minister just said, you are responsible for the violence that killed 54 Ugandans. And many people have said that the blood of those 54 Ugandans who died between November 16th and 18th lies squarely on your heads as leaders of the opposition party that provoked the confrontations that the minister is talking about. What do you tell Ugandans? What do you tell the relatives of those people today?
You know, Charles, I looked in amusement looking at my old friend, Dr. Chris, who is potentially intelligent, trying to struggle to justify the cold-blooded murders that were committed by a government which is a servant. And initially I thought that when you raise this question, you would listen to a gentleman trying to bring back the country into you ended with soul searching. Even at this stage, to be justifying the killing of citizens in the name of power retention is something that really, I'm very sure as night falls day, will bring this country to a halt. It should really happen someday, because when you expect senior leaders to be either apologetic as to their tacit or direct participation and justification hitherto of these killings, then again when victims are asking for justice, in fact, they are not only blaming the NUP party leaders. At one time, General Museveni is on record and his ministers blaming victims. You have it on record, which is why they have a classification of victims. They have culprit victims and innocent victims. And this is unthinkable. It's unthinkable that when people are killed, you are able to say these ones were justifiably murdered. And you see, you're talking about especially people who were killed when they were demonstrating legally the illegal detention of a presidential candidate. Forget about the fact that on the day he was nominated, he was brutalized. And then you ask, what crime had he committed from Kyambogo at the gate where he was nominated? Before that, so many had been arrested. On the day, on the eve of General Museveni's self-swearing in Nyendo, 3 people...
That's your constituency?
Yes, were killed, including an expectant mother by the military from Masaka barracks. Thankfully, we know the commanders of those murders. On polling day, in my constituency, on polling day, they shot 3 people. I've been treating them personally. They were shot by the army and the police. Not a police commander or an army commander has checked on them to find out, or even to say, we're investigating those who shot at you. No, it's okay. And according to the good doctor, these people were fomenting violence on polling day, so they were shot.
Yes, but what do you say that as leaders who could have been had things turned out differently, who could have been in running this country?
Chris, for me, Charles, for me, that doesn't arise. We are talking about cold-blooded murder by men in uniform, not on the day of riots, but throughout the campaign. And what Dr. Chris is saying, that you see, the murders were committed by the military because the candidate was violating COVID-19 guidelines. My foot. You have aired on this TV station pictures, live pictures of General Museveni on a campaign trail with hundreds of thousands of people.
No,
The bigger question,
My friend.
That's not true.
the bigger question,
The president was meeting leaders, selected leaders, few.
Chris, you have time to respond.
No.
Do not try. If you want, take a record and record what I'm saying.
No. Don't mislead the public because we all participate in these campaigns.
My friend.
How many people do you need to
I can cede my time and we have these played for your attention.
You play
Probably you were busy
Play
in
them.
Kanungu
No.
planning how to steal the election.
Play them.
to be able to effectively
How many
discuss,
did he meet in Masaka?
to be able, gentlemen, to be able to effectively discuss 2022, we must review 2021, where this political, which grounds this political discussion.
And Charles, I will not
happened.
allow Dr. Chris to interfere with my submission.
I hear you.
Because
My question-
he has openly justified killings,
You are not the moderator.
you know.
My
panelist.
my
You
question
want
to
to,
you,
are you a co-moderator?
my question to you, Honorable Matthias Impoga, do you take responsibility for not restraining yourselves and your supporters that led to these confrontations?
Now, Charles, let's for argument's sake, let's take it that we committed any crime under the sun. Again, I want to ask, does it justify men in uniform to get hold of guns and shoot and kill citizens? Forget about the fact that Dr. Chris is saying that, people were rioting. So in this world,
Violently.
in this world, a regime of 40 years has not evolved a mechanism. You remember over the last 30 years, they have been modernizing the army. They have not found a mechanism of dealing with a violent situation. So the only thing they know under the sun is shoot and kill. You see, for me,
The minister should respond to that.
and for me to try and blame victims of this violence, our people were brutalized. Just as I speak, we still have over 500 young men and women in detention because they were putting on berets. And you want me to discuss justice with the person justifying murder?
Honorable Minister,
These people are in prison for more than 1 year. Actually, some of them, Doctor has been in Parliament. I have presented a list of citizens that have disappeared. That were picked by the military, and they have never appeared in any court for more than a year. Their families do not know where they are. Some of them actually, and these are on the hands of Parliament, they were advised to conduct their last funeral rites.
by-
And they were by the people who arrested them, because they call them, actually some of them have been demanding for ransom money. These are on record in Parliament. And nobody, can I say this? Even when I said this in the presence of the ministers, nobody followed up what I said on the floor of Parliament to try either and counter or provide alternative information.
Honorable Minister, you have an
So
opportunity to
what are we
respond.
supposed to discuss?
Let him first finish.
He's finished. You need to
Have you
respond to
finished?
some of those.
Sir,
Proceed.
what I concede, because you said this election was different from the others, to some extent, yes, because there was an element of criminal hooliganism introduced in the politics at this time around. And we have security agencies. They have their responsibility to maintain law and order. Being a presidential or parliamentary candidate or a candidate for whatever position does not mean you just act with impunity and security agencies will just fold their hands and look at you. No. Even now, if rioters come on the streets violently, the security agencies are mandated by the Constitution to make sure they restore order. I am sure Ugandans who are watching, the others were already born when we were in these elections. We saw footages of the so-called protesters having hammers, trying to kill innocent police persons. No, just hold on. Didn't you watch them? Didn't you see people in town trying to address women who are putting on the yellow. Did you see
killing
them? Just hold on.
Is killing them
I am
are you justifying their killing?
Just hold on. Just listen, if I moderate, I'm telling you. So I'm saying any right-thinking Ugandan saw that kind of hooliganism in the town. Hooliganism which was criminal, which was violent. And that's what attracted the security forces to come in and quell the situation and ensure stability in the city, plus the intelligence information which was available to security agencies. So for you to come here and pretend that your camp was very angelic, you were angels who were just attacked by security agencies, I am sure Ugandans know the kind of situation we're dealing with. I have said it is unfortunate that in the confrontation, people died. But police and security agencies have a responsibility to secure all those who don't want to be part of this kavuyo, of this confusion. So Honorable Mpuuga, the leader of opposition, should also acknowledge that their camp were violent and they were using a violent approach to politics. And the moment you want to use violence, I don't think the security will give you a red carpet. That's simply because you are a candidate, you are a presidential candidate, therefore you can flout regulations, you can promote violence, and they leave you because you are a candidate. No. That one, it cannot be accepted. But I have said investigations have been ongoing. If a security officer is found to have flouted the regulations, he will definitely be brought to book. But for you to say, simply because you are campaigning or because your candidate has been arrested, therefore your goons can start beating police, that one cannot be accepted.
Okay. Let me put this simple question and then we'll move on to the other things. Yes. Because I think you've partly answered the other question I wanted to ask on
you can ask
what you call the innocent victims that were caught in this melee.
The president has spoken on it, that some of those who died as a result of stray bullets.
Mr. Minister,
in the confrontation.
In 2000,
others were the rioters who were challenging the security agencies, and in the confrontation, they died.
Mr. Minister, we went into this election.
If somebody comes towards you with a panga and you are armed, isn't there right of self-defense? And I think some of them could have died in that unnecessary exchange.
The question you provoke there then is that why haven't we seen a prosecution of a person who came with a panga, or evidence that this person who was shot and was lying down is actually a person who was carrying a panga trying to injure a security officer? What we see from the investigations that have been done, largely outside of government, by the media, is a woman who was vending food. She's seen crossing with her plate of food. She's seen lying in a pool of blood with her food scattered on the road, on Kampala Road. Why hasn't government, why hasn't your ministry tried to bring out the evidence of these panga-wielding attackers on security and show them lying dead?
So are you saying the security agencies should use your media reports to bring a report?
I'm asking you, you're the Minister for Information, I'm not.
Yes, and
I'm giving you what the media has done.
Yes.
As the Minister, you can tell me what you have from your ministry.
I'm saying investigations, we have said this for the umpteenth time on this show and elsewhere, that investigations are going on. And once they are completed, the report shall be made public. We are not going to rely on what you, the media, are reporting.
Do the investigations have a timeline?
We shall rely on what the investigators come up with.
Do they have a timeline?
And, no.
They don't have a timeline?
They have to be done as fast as possible, but they have to be comprehensive.
Who is leading this investigation, Honorable Minister?
The security agencies.
Who in the security? Which particular security agency is leading the investigation?
I am not with a bound to reveal details to you.
Is there an actual investigation going on?
Yes. There is a principle of need to know.
Yes.
We don't have to come on television and reveal everything. No. We can tell you what you should know, and others we keep within our reach. But once the investigations are complete, the report will be made public. Like I have said, those found to have breached the law will definitely be punished. I'm sure you know the record of UPDF and the security agencies in this country, that we do not tolerate indiscipline within the security forces.
Honorable Minister, you are an elected leader yourself?
Yes.
You serve in an elected government?
Absolutely.
Your first accountability is to the people who put you in power under Article 1 of the Constitution.
Yes.
So when you say information on a basis of need to know,
Yes.
who are you keeping that information from? If it's not the person who put you in power, and that person who put you in power by voting
Yes,
for you.
the person.
And watching you now.
The people put them in power, but we have laws and regulations which guide.
Yes.
I must come here and tell the public.
Do you think?
There are ways through which that can be communicated.
Do you think, Honorable Minister, that a mother of an innocent child, a child of an innocent parent, who was killed in those confrontations, who has been waiting for 1 year to know what government is doing, deserves to know what you're actually doing?
That mother will eventually know
Thank you very
once
much.
the truth has come out. Because you see, you don't have to rush investigations in order to police some people. What is important is to do investigations which are very thorough, so that once the report comes out, it reflects what the truth is. Have to dig deep into all those before they come out with the report. So
Well,
do not stampede the investigators. I know people affected need the information. They feel the pain the way all of us feel the pain. But give time to those who are digging out the details, and they will definitely come out.
It begs the question, Honorable Minister, that you have the only report arising out of a violent and controversial election has never been debated.
It is you calling it
For 20
controversial.
years.
Why are you calling it controversial?
No, there was a parliamentary investigation on the violence of the 2001 elections. 2021 was exactly 20 years after that investigation, and the other report has never been discussed. So why should we believe that the one you're doing now will actually see the day of
You ask
light?
Parliament. Why did Parliament discuss it?
You-
I am here on behalf of the executive.
Yes.
I don't represent the leadership of Parliament. So why didn't they
Thank you.
report it?
From where you sit, and
But I'm asking you, why are you saying this election was controversial? Because it was conducted in a broad daylight. The results were counted, tallied, and Electoral Commission announced with the quantitative figures of who has got what.
I don't know what you'd
So-
call non-controversial, Honorable Minister, when
No.
54 people are killed in a space of 2 days because of an election. Isn't that controversy? Wouldn't that be?
That you call controversial.
I don't know what you think.
So it made. So are you saying now on the voting day?
No, that
It
was
was-
that
yes.
was a unique election because democracy presupposes that you're choosing peaceful means to arriving at leadership. If people die, if that is not controversy, I don't know what controversy means.
Yes,
I'd plead.
but I've challenged you that every time you mention people being killed, you tell the whole story. The whole context must be understood. How did that confrontation come about? But you are happy with starting from midway.
No.
Yes, midway.
Honorable Minister, as a journalist,
And somebody,
My-
Honorable Lop, leader of opposition, is saying President Museveni also held big rallies, and I'm challenging him. Tell Ugandans where President Yoweri Museveni carried out a big rally while campaigning.
Okay.
Because I moved with him in the bigger part of the country. We were just meeting few selected leaders who are being tested for COVID-19, and if you tested positive, even if you were a member of parliament or minister, you
You'll
would
be
be
kicked
left
off.
out. And they were just meetings where people were seated in a tent. He never held a rally.
Okay.
So why would any candidate flout those regulations simply because you are a candidate?
Matthias, would you like to respond
That's
to that?
what caused all that fracas.
You could answer one first question if I respond. Who
Yes.
was meeting the cost of the testing?
The candidate,
The candidate?
yes.
Thank you. You know, Charles, during the campaign, you are aware that our campaign headquarters were raided more than 2 times, and by the military. They took away campaign materials, the T-shirts, caps, so many things. We have never gotten a report whether we were a group of criminals at the headquarters, and we expect people who are justifying murder who are actually probable accomplices in the murder to give the public a report. That's a very big asking of them. The bigger question actually is, up to now, after a year and more of investigation, families of victims have never been approached to give their side of the story. They're investigating. That should be an investigation of centuries. Probably should go in the Guinness Book of Records.
But
we expect.
you sit in parliament, you lead the opposition in parliament. Why haven't you led this initiative?
My friend, I think if you've been active, I have been asking questions over these killings and information. In fact, before we went into recess, we put parliament on notice of an intention, if nothing is coming out, to investigate the entire electoral process, the entire election, so that we can help the public, especially victims and families, to get justice. And when you see people who have committed crime are getting themselves a duty to decide who is the victim and who is the culprit, you certainly know that a big cover-up is underway, which is why they're telling you, because what are you investigating in a blackout? Of course, what is going on is a cover-up. The beauty is that at least some of us leaders are aware of who was commanding where, and when cows come home to roast, we shall be able to align these people before courts of law to justify
But
their
you flatly deny any responsibility as political leaders.
Of course, as a political leader who was actually being hounded and hunted and harassed, what kind of right, what kind of space did I have to defend myself? Or what kind of space? Because for the bulk of time in the campaign, we were actually on the rails defending our space to be able to speak to the public. Our candidate slept on the roadside for days in the countryside. Our candidate was hounded out of radio stations. Remember, it was touted as...
Honorable Poga, does that justify you not saying, don't get into harm's way, if this is what it's going to cost us
what constitutes in your view harm's way? That we were in a campaign, but be careful, one side is armed, and for you're supposed to be careful lest they shoot at you. That's what you're saying.
Wouldn't that be a responsible thing to do? Wouldn't it have been a responsible thing to do?
But can you confirm that you agree that one side was a military side and the others were civilians?
No, I'm asking. The moment you realize that you're being hounded, that you're being faced with all these challenges, that it was your responsibility as leaders of the opposition to try and keep your supporters safe and tell them, if this is what is likely to happen, then let's...
Charles, are we still discussing an election with that question?
Where do you think we are?
Are we still discussing an election or something different?
Can I ask you...
Would that be an election that's still telling people to keep away from?
Honorable Poga, can I ask you some questions?
Go ahead.
Do you agree that we had people who supported your side, who were unaddressing anybody putting on a yellow in the town and the central Uganda here?
Did you arrange them in the court anywhere?
No,
do you have them anywhere in any
I
court?
want to answer my question with a question.
No, I do not.
Are you aware?
You said initially that security was all over. Please advise me where these people were aligned in any court. I'm interested.
No,
so that I can confirm that actually they were my supporters.
First answer whether you are aware or not.
I said I am not aware. Okay. And I have a follow-up question.
Yes.
Where were they aligned in court?
Where?
These people were undressing others. Those who were carrying hammers and pangas. In which court were they aligned?
Some have been tried, others are still being investigated.
Could they be part of the group of citizens that were executed summarily?
Where?
The ones we are looking for, whose whereabouts are not known.
But if you know they were executed, the one where are you looking for?
No, I'm asking you.
No, you're saying they were executed.
I'm asking, are they part of the group of citizens that you executed?
Don't contradict yourself. If you know they were summarily executed, then why are you saying you don't know where they are?
Gentlemen,
it's a question I'm asking you.
Gentlemen,
Could they be?
If that is the background,
so
but let me complete.
Yes.
There was no
however much English you speak,
hold it. Yes.
The government will not tolerate criminal hooliganism.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Gentlemen, I need to put this question to you.
Yes.
If that is the background of the year 2021, what do you see coming in the year 2022 on the political front?
Okay, what I've been discussing is history.
Yes.
That was
post-mortem.
Preceding the elections. And really what we call for is that we need to have decent politics, because over time there is that string of extremism that has come into our politics, where people make the politics of this country a do or die. And that explains the criminality that especially the opposition espouses as we go into campaigns. And the moment you front that the criminal approach, a violent approach, a belligerent approach, you will definitely confront with security agencies. But if you do peaceful campaigns, like some of us think we should do, then the security will be there to ensure that everybody is safe. So as you rush to apportion blame the security agencies, you must also know who are the people provoking these security agents. But I'm not saying anybody should die
ask you,
in the process.
Dr. Chris?
Yes, please.
Could you hold it for a moment, sir? I'll come to you in a minute.
Okay. So that's for the past year. Now, all that happened as we were canvassing for political support, and as you know, the NRM won the elections at the level of the president and the parliament and the other levels down to local governments. And we won on the basis of the manifesto which we sold and Ugandans voted for. Now, our preoccupation now in this 2022 shall not be politicking as you want us to, because you are discussing the politics of politicking. Our focus as NRM government is still that we translate the NRM manifesto, which has pledges to Ugandans, into services for this country, ranging from roads, health services, education, fighting poverty. That's why you have had programs like the parish development model. We now want to put it into meaningful implementation. In February, we shall be launching this program in eastern Uganda. We want to see that the country recovers from effects of COVID and the measures which we instituted to fight COVID. You know the economy has been brought down by the COVID measures. The schools are opening. We want to see that our children can get back to school, our teachers be in school, and learning can take place. Those are areas which are going to be preoccupying us. We wouldn't want the country to keep politicking all the time. If I can comment on the issue which you raised even in the introduction about the proposals to amend the Constitution, I made those comments yesterday in response to a press conference by our leaders in the NUP. That one, our Constitution gives every Ugandan freedom and rights to propose a law, to propose amendments to the Constitution, to propose anything for the good governance of this country. And nobody should blame whoever has a view, whoever has an opinion. Now, there is a group of Ugandans who named themselves NRM cadres who participated in the parliamentary elections and they didn't make it, and they came with a proposal that we should look at a possibility of amending the Constitution to provide for a new way of electing the president, i.e., that members of parliament be given the responsibility to elect a president. To me, this is an innocent proposal coming from concerned Ugandans. It has not been brought by the NRM party, no NRM government, but citizens. Like you can also make a proposal, like Honorable Mpuga can make a proposal on anything. And therefore, up to now, we treat it as some suggestions by Ugandans. Should this find its way into parliament or NRM party or government, then we are duty bound to listen to them. The relevant structures, say in NRM, we'll discuss this and then we see whether it is something we should take forward or we can stop it.
Okay.
But we cannot condemn. I saw the Honorable Bobby Wine saying, I will not accept the Constitution to be amended. You as who? The Constitution is for all Ugandans. The leader of NUP has his views, but other Ugandans also have their views, provided if you bring those views, they are processed democratically, and what the majority of Ugandans want is what we will obtain.
Thank
and
you.
we cannot stop anybody from making suggestions.
Thank you.
But for now, it's not a proposal from NRM, it's not a proposal from government, and those proposals have not formally been brought to NRM government
Thank you,
or parliament.
Fair enough. Honorable Mpuga,
Yes, sir.
your outlook for the year 2022 as leader of opposition and as National Unity Platform.
You know, chairs, the first couple of minutes we expended discussing what has been dubbed as history. Incidentally, it's not history. We're discussing what we are living with. Some of the victims are still in hospital. That can't be history. And some of the victims actually were buried. Some of the victims actually are not seen. Probably, their bodies are buried in a mortuary somewhere or in a mass grave. That can't be history. It's a present we are dealing with. And at this stage, you expect serious national leaders to offer an unequivocal apology to citizens over murders. That's what is done in other decent, countries. Where there is a murder of any sort, you actually, without justifying anything, offer an apology. But don't forget, Charles, that what Dr. Chris refers to as hooliganism started in the NRM primaries. The first killings actually started in the NRM primaries. So eventually when they kill, they consider as the opponents. It's okay. After all, they kill their own. So it's been part of their blood politic, which is why I will tell you that the last election was not different from the other elections. Because in 2001, Dr. Kizza supporters were killed. 2006, they were killed, no investigation, no prosecution. So I agree with him, it was like other elections. The only difference was that in the last election, the stakes were even higher, which is why, for the first time, they saw an upsurge and a determination of citizens to depose them out of power, which is why they think those citizens were hooligans. Okay. I contend those citizens have reason to do away with a dysfunctional regime. But you see, don't even forget, Charles, that even after the Electoral Commission, for whatever it stands for, announced the final tally of the elections, they continued to arrest our campaign agents. They continued to arrest them with our DRR forms. This is on public record. And even the police does not deny it. The police now go on record to tell you.
One will wonder and ask, do you actually have those DR forms that you say you have, or you actually don't have them?
Certainly, you cannot have a single copy of DR forms. You would be naive to have one, which is why we actually presented them on record, because for whatever they were arresting, we had an alternative. Okay. But we also declared those that they eventually, finally, enemies confiscated.
You presented to Parliament and to Ugandans your legislative agenda as leader of opposition. We'll take a commercial break, and when we come out of the break, the minister has told you the government will be focusing on delivering on its manifesto. You presented a legislative agenda. We'll interrogate that after a very short commercial break.
Frontline.
Enjoy convenience today with Airtel Money School Pay. Dial *185#. Select option 6, school fees. Select option 2, school pay. Select option 1, pay fees. Enter student number. Enter the amount. Enter the